Now you have 6 pieces for the bag plus the handle. So your pieces should look like this. So take the front of your bag and take your in-air foam. I'm using wadding because I've run out of in-air foam. Place it on the front of the bag. And now do whatever quilting you like to make that one piece. So you can do lines going across, you can do straight lines, you can do scribble, you can do whatever you like, but you make that one piece. Do that with the 2 fronts. I've now quilted the batting or the in-air foam to the front of my bag, and you can see it better on the back. I've just stitched straight lines across. Now this is a very good time to actually take your handles and put them onto the bag. So I'll show you what I've done to the handles. This is my long strip that we had left over from the bag. What I did was I folded it in half and found the center, and then I have folded the 2 outside edges into the center of the bag, and then I fold them again to make one strap. And then what I'll do is I'll take that to the sewing machine and I'll sew down this edge. And then once I've done that, I will cut the handles in half, just measure them in half, cut them, and I'm going to measure in 5 inches from the top and attach that handle, placing the seam on the inside. So I'm going to place the seam on the inside and I'm going to place it there, and then I'll sew it across before I sew the bag up. Once I've got that into place, I'll take the other side and I'll match the sides, and I'll sew down the side, down this side and across the bottom. But when I do the lining, which I've already sewn, you'll see that when I sewed across the bottom, I've left an opening so that I can turn the bag through. So if you remember to do that, you will be able to turn your bag. If you don't, you'll be in trouble. This is a quick look at how the handles look before I sew them on. So they're measured 5 inches from each end. And now I'm going to sew them. I'll sew them at 1/4 inch and I'll back tack over them. And then when we sew the top of the bag, I will sew it 1/2 inch, so it gives lots of security to the handle. Now this is the corner that we cut out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it out and I'm going to bring the 2 seams together and I'm going to nest them in the opposite directions. And I'm just going to place a clip on there. And then what I'm going to do is take that to the machine and sew across at 1/2 inch. Do it on both sides and do it on the front of the bag and the inside of the bag. And when you've done it, this is what it turns out like. So you've now made your side of your bag. So the lining will now sit inside and it'll be exactly the same. Now I've completed my corners. So now I'm going to turn the inside, the lining, to the right side. Remember, we've still got that hole in the middle of the bottom seam to be able to turn the bag through. So there's my corner. So now I'm going to take the lining and put it inside the bag and make sure that the handles are tucked in and not tucked out. And then what you're going to do is pin your lining or clip your lining all the way around, matching the side seams. So my handles are tucked in. You can see that my lining, it's right side to right side. I've clipped around the top, and now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew 1/2 inch around the top. Now I've sewn all the way around my bag. Yours will stand up better than mine because you're using in-air foam and that's designed especially for bags. I'm going to take that seam now. This is where it's open, and what I'm going to do is pull all of my bag through that seam. Now you can put your hand in that seam, make sure your corners are tucked out. Do the same with the lining. Now you've got this seam on the inside, and what I do is I just take that to my machine and I sew that seam together with a thread that matches the colour of my lining. I don't hand sew. If you want to hand sew it, you can hand sew along that edge. And once you've done that, you tuck your lining inside your bag and your bag is complete. I've turned my bag through, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the lining to the inside, and I'm just going to top stitch around the top of the bag. I've already sewn the inside of the bag, so you can see there is my seam that I opened. I've just sewed it with a matching thread so it hardly shows. So we're nearly finished. So as you can see, I've stitched around the top, I've tucked everything in, and there we are. There's your completed bag. I hope that helps you to make the bag.